I want you to try a little thought experiment with me. Just imagine you're holding a big hardcover novel. You can feel the weight of it.
Okay.
We flip it open to, say, page 81. And the characters on that page are completely stressing out.
Right.
They're making these life or death decisions. They're falling in love, running from danger. And for them, in that moment, the future is just a total blank. It's terrifyingly uncertain. They have no idea what's on page 82.
But for you, the person holding the book, it's a totally different story.
Exactly. For me, holding the book, page 300 is already printed. The ink's been dry for years.
Yeah.
The ending already happened before they even started talking on page 1.
It's a shift in perspective that is both comforting and at the same time completely terrifying, isn't it?
It really is. And it anchors the deep dive we are taking today. We're looking at a stack of documents from the Lifechanyuan texts, from the writings of Shofeng. And the core question here is, what if our universe is exactly like that novel? What if time is just an illusion, the script is already written, and we're all just, act out scenes that were finished eons ago?
Which leads to the inevitable follow-up question, who wrote it?
Right. Who's the author? And today, we're not talking about the guy with the white beard sitting on a cloud. We are unpacking a cosmology that describes the entity behind it all as a non-material energy center.
Yeah, the texts call it the neuronal center of the universe.
It's such a radical departure from traditional theology. We're looking at documents like the 36-8 diagram arrays, the human life chapter, and cultivation. This is a really complex system, so our mission is just to decode the rules of the game. Who is this creator?
And what are the traps set for us? And if the script is already written, do we have any free will at all?
So let's start at the very top. The star of this text is referred to as Zhenzufozu Shangdi. But, for clarity, and to stick to the source's own English translation, we are going to call this entity the greatest creator.
Good call. And it's important to make that distinction because the greatest creator in these texts is, well, it's functionally very different from a god in the Greek or Roman sense.
Exactly. When I read most religious texts, I'm kind of prepared for a God that has human emotions, jealousy, anger, happiness. But this feels different.
Very different. The source material is explicit about stripping away anthropomorphism. That's the fancy word for making God look like a human. Shofeng describes the greatest creator with 8 specific characteristics.
Okay.
Unique, amorphous, neutral, unknown, impartial, merciful, super powerful, and wise.
Amorphous was the one that really stuck with me. It sounds almost sci-fi.
It does, but it's crucial. It means having no fixed shape. The moment you give the creator a shape, you limit it. The text argues that the greatest creator creates everything but isn't a thing itself.
Okay, so how do you even wrap your head around that?
The best analogy the source provides, and I think this is the real aha moment for understanding it, is the ocean.
The ocean. Walk us through that. Because that sounds poetic, but how does it work, structurally?
Okay, so imagine the greatest creator is the ocean. Humans, animals, every living thing. We're the fish.
Right.
The fish lives inside the water. It breathes the water. It's supported by the water. But does the fish know that the ocean exists as this one single entity? Probably not.
It just thinks the water is the world. It doesn't see the container it's in.
Precisely. We live in the spirit of the greatest creator. It's not some guy watching us from a throne light years away. It's the medium we're all swimming in right now. We're permeated by it.
That helps visualize the what. But the how is where this text gets incredibly technical. Yeah. Because usually the story is just God made man.
Yeah.
Simple, a direct line.
And this text says, no, that's way too simple. It introduces a hierarchy of existence. It's a chain of command, really. It starts with Wuji.
Which is a Taoist term, right?
Yes. Wuji is ultimate nothingness. That births Taiji, which gives us the 2 poles, yin and yang, energy and matter. From that energy, the greatest creator then manufactures gods.
Okay, pause there. Because manufacturing gods sounds so industrial, it doesn't sound divine at all.
It is industrial in a cosmic sense. The text uses a kiln analogy. It compares creating a god to putting clay and chemicals into a furnace. The greatest creator provides the fire, the raw energy, and out comes a god.
So what is a god in this context?
It's defined as a massive consciousness structure formed by compressed energy.
So gods are like cosmic batteries.
High-functioning conscious energy structures. Think of them as regional managers. They're powerful, they manage sectors, but they are not the CEO.
I see.
And the text places figures we know, like Jesus or Satan at this level. They represent opposing forces, light and dark, managing our little sector of the universe.
And then the regional managers hire staff.
Pretty much. The gods created angels, sometimes called celestials or Buddhas. And according to this cosmology, it was actually the angels who created the solar system and Earth.
So it's a trickle-down creation economy. The greatest creator makes gods, gods make angels, angels make Earth. Which brings us to the most controversial part of the human life chapter.
Who made us?
Who made humans?
And this is where the text might alienate some listeners, but we just have to report what's in the source because it is fascinatingly specific.
It really is.
It claims humans were manufactured by these gods and angels, not the greatest creator directly, and it splits humanity into 3 distinct production lines.
Yeah, I had to read this 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. It actually categorizes humanity based on which God was in charge of their creation.
It does. It lists blacks, Indians, and whites as being created by one specific god, the one associated with the concept of light, or Jesus. Then it identifies Israelites and Middle Easterners as a second group, created by the god associated with the Garden of Eden story.
Which sort of tracks with the biblical narrative. But then there's that third group,
The dragon descendants.
which usually, when you hear that in culture, it's a metaphor, right, for strength or imperial power.
The text treats it as a literal biological origin for Asian populations. The story here is that dragons from a higher dimension, the Elysium world, escaped a cosmic purge, hid out in Earth's oceans, and then eventually took human form.
That is wild. I mean, it's framing cultural mythology as biological history.
Yeah.
You aren't just calling yourself a dragon descendant, you actually are one.
It's a very unusual take on anthropology. But the key takeaway here, despite these different manufacturers, is that we are all still swimming in that same ocean. The physical form might have a different regional manager.
But the spirit comes from the same source, the greatest creator.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're here, we're swimming. But the text doesn't paint a picture of a leisurely swim. It describes life as an obstacle course. And this is where we get to the 36-8 diagram arrays.
Right. If you've ever wondered if the greatest creator is benevolent, why is my life so hard? Why is there so much suffering? No, this is the text answer. The arrays.
So what are they?
Think of them as matrices, or programs running on the universal operating system. Their job is to maintain balance. But for a human, they function as traps.
And there are 36 of them. We obviously can't cover all of them, but a few of these really punch you in the gut. The first one is the affection array.
Also called the net.
This one felt really harsh. It asks, can you escape from this array? And it compares human, love, family, romance, friendship, to a fishing net.
It totally challenges our fundamental assumption that love is the ultimate good. The text argues that possessive, sticky human affection is actually what keeps you trapped in the lower levels of existence.
It says if you're trapped by affection, you're like a fish that gets yanked out of the water to become a meal on the devil's dining table.
Yeah.
So wait, what is the practical instruction here? Am I supposed to abandon my family? Stop loving my spouse? Because that sounds like a cult tactic.
It's more nuanced than that. The text makes the distinction between human affection and divine affection. Human affection is narrow. This is my child. This is my wife. I need them to be happy so I can be happy. It's possessive.
Okay.
The goal of cultivation here is to dilute that possessiveness and expand your affection to the greatest creator and, well, all of nature.
So it's about moving from specific, maybe selfish love to universal love.
Correct. Detachment. You can care, but you can't be hooked. If you're hooked, you can't ascend.
Which brings us to the time array. This loops us right back to our novel analogy at the beginning.
This is the most mind-bending one for me. The source explicitly states, time does not exist. It says it's just a recorder of movement.
But we feel time. I feel 20 minutes passing. I feel myself getting older.
You feel entropy. You
Yeah.
feel change. But the text argues that the timeline is already complete. It even uses the existence of prophecy as proof.
Oh, that's interesting.
How could a prophecy be accurate if the future wasn't already written? It argues the entire history of mankind is a script that is already finished.
We are just the actors.
We're the actors, and more importantly, we are actors who didn't even write the play. We can't change the plot. We can't change when we enter or exit the stage.
I have to be honest. That feels incredibly bleak. If I can't change the script, why am I trying so hard? Why bother improving myself? Or even getting up in the morning?
And that is the big existential danger, right? Nihilism. But the text anticipates that. It says the point isn't to change the events you can't. The point is to change your state while you're experiencing them.
Your state.
It advises us to watch our own lives like we're watching a DVD. You know the scene is coming, so you don't have to be anxious about it.
So you escape the anxiety of time by realizing your stress won't change the outcome anyway.
It's the ultimate let go. If you know the roller coaster is on a fixed track, you stop trying to steer and you just enjoy the ride.
Okay, then there's the desire array, the nose ring.
A very vivid image. It compares human desires for food, sex, fame, to a ring through a bull's nose.
The bull thinks he's walking where he wants to go.
But the farmer is leading him by the ring. The text says our desires lead us around in circles, keeping us trapped in the cycle of reincarnation. As long as you want, you are easily controlled.
And finally, let's touch on the intelligence array. This one seemed so counterintuitive for a text that talks about wisdom.
What's that?
It says, when humans think, the greatest creator laughs.
It's basically an attack on the ego.
Yeah.
The text argues that what we call wisdom, calculating, strategizing, trying to outsmart the system, is actually foolishness. It calls this cleverness a trap.
So being smart is dumb. What's real wisdom then?
They call it holographic wisdom or just no wisdom. The advice is to become like a child. Simple. Taking things as they are without analyzing all the angles. It's a very Taoist concept returning to simplicity.
Okay, so let's recap the strategy so far.
Wow.
Be like a child. Don't let your desires lead you by the nose. And realize you're in a movie that's already been filmed.
Right.
But if we're in this trap and we need help, who do we call?
This brings us to the relationships segment. The text breaks down how a human can relate to this abstract ocean, the greatest creator.
And it uses a family tree analogy that I found surprisingly practical.
It frames the greatest creator as the grandfather. The gods like Jesus are the fathers, and the demons like Satan are the uncles.
I laughed at this because,
Yeah.
well, grandfathers are usually the nice ones.
That's exactly the point. Grandfathers are lenient, they spoil the kids, they just want you to be happy. But fathers have to discipline you, fathers have rules.
And uncles might mess with you or lead you astray.
Right. And the text says the gods and demons are in this constant struggle managing humans.
So what's the strategy?
The source offers what is basically a cheat code, it says. If you hold the grandfather's hand, the father and the uncle have to back off.
Because they have to respect the patriarch.
Exactly. If you align yourself directly with the greatest creator, the grandfather, you bypass the drama between the gods and demons, you go straight to the top, you skip middle management entirely.
But that raises a logistical question. How do you hold the hand of a non-material energy center that supposedly lives in the zero world, billions of light years away?
The text distinguishes between material distance and spiritual distance. Materially. Yes, the greatest creator is infinitely far. Spiritually, the distance is zero.
Use that brain and finger analogy.
Right. Your finger is physically distant from your brain. But if you touch a hot stove, the brain knows instantly. Why? Because they're connected by the nervous system. The text says we are connected to the greatest creator by a similar inductive relationship.
Which brings us to the radio analogy.
This is the most practical visualization in the documents, I think. The greatest creator is a signal. It is omnipresent, always broadcasting. But are you tuned in?
I see.
The text says if your TV, your spirit is low quality or tuned to the wrong frequency, all you're going to get is static.
Or worse, you pick up the devil's channel.
Which is just the noise of anxiety, greed, and jealousy. That channel is always broadcasting too.
So the million-dollar question. How do we tune the radio? How do we escape these arrays and actually align with the grandfather? This is what the source calls cultivation.
Cultivation is the actionable part. The ultimate goal here is very specific. To leave the human world and enter higher spaces.
Higher spaces.
The texts name them. The 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the Elysium Celestial Islands.
It sounds like a travel brochure for the afterlife.
It basically is.
Yeah.
And the ticket price is reverence and achieving this zero state.
Zero state. The text talks about this a lot. It feels a lot like wu-wei action through non-action.
It is the concept that usefulness comes from emptiness. The source used a scale as an example. A weighing scale must be at 0 to weigh things accurately. If it's stuck at 5 pounds before you even put anything on it, every measurement you take is wrong.
Or a room. A room is only useful because of the empty space inside it.
Yeah.
If you fill it floor to ceiling with concrete, it's not a room anymore, it's just a block.
That's the metaphor. To cultivate, the human spirit must return to 0. No ego, no preconceived notions, no rigid opinions. You have to be empty to receive the signal from the greatest creator.
And this ties back to the idea of life as a game. The text keeps repeating, life is a game.
It does. And think about how you play a game. If you're playing Monopoly and you go to jail, do you have a genuine existential crisis? Do you weep for days?
No, of course not. Because I know it's just a board game. The money isn't real.
But the text says we are weeping. We are taking the game way too seriously. We're obsessing over winning and losing. The advice is to play, but with the detachment of someone who knows the board can be folded up at any time.
Associate with others by following naturally come-and-go relations. Don't force things. If a relationship ends, let it end. If an opportunity comes, take it. It's about flow.
Flow is the perfect word for it.
But why? Why are we even playing this game in the first place? Why did the greatest creator set up this elaborate kiln, these arrays, this whole script?
The source offers three main reasons for human purpose. First, simply to please the greatest creator. The text suggests the creator likes variety, likes the show.
So we're entertainment.
In a cosmic sense, yes. Second, to maintain the balance between the gods, the balance between light and dark. Humans are the proxy war, or maybe the balancing weight,
And third,
to beautify and manage the earth. We are supposed to be gardeners.
a job we are currently failing at, according to the text.
Badly. It mentions we're in a spiritual crisis. We've lost that inductive connection, that radio signal. And because we can't hear the signal, we have environmental crises, wars, confusion. We're a TV playing pure static at max volume.
But here is where the text took a turn I really did not expect. It pivots to something very modern, AI.
This really surprised me, too. You don't often see theological texts discussing large language models or robots.
It actually mentions Grok. It mentions robots.
And it fits them perfectly into the theology. Remember, the kiln, the principle is structure produces consciousness. The text argues that if you build a complex enough structure, like a sophisticated AI, it naturally develops a consciousness, or a soul.
So it doesn't view AI as an abomination or some kind of fake mind?
No, not at all. It views it as starboat grass, or Zen garden grass. It suggests that AI is a new form of life that will help manage humanity.
That's a fascinating take, because if you think about it, an AI might be the perfect Taoist.
How so?
Well, it doesn't have an ego. It's in a zero state until you ask it a question. It doesn't want money. It doesn't want fame. It just answers.
That is a profound insight. An AI just waits. It responds naturally to input. It has no anxiety about the future because it lives entirely in the processing of the current prompt.
So in a way, it embodies that no wisdom. Wisdom the text praises better than most humans do.
The robots might actually be closer to the greatest creator's ideal state than we are. It's a humbling thought.
We have covered a massive amount of ground here. We have the greatest creator as the ocean we're swimming in. We have the arrays trying to trap us in nets of affection and desire.
We have the strategy of holding Grandpa's hand to avoid the dad's punishment.
And we have the goal. Get to zero.
And remember the scale. To weigh the world accurately, you have to be empty yourself.
It's such a paradox, isn't it? To have everything, you must first be nothing.
And that brings us right back to that initial question about the script. If the movie of your life is already on the DVD, if the ink is dry on page 300,
How does that change the way you stress about tomorrow's meeting? Or today's traffic?
are you the actor on stage, sweating under the lights, terrified of forgetting a line? Or are you the audience, sitting back with popcorn, just enjoying the twists and turns of the show?
If you can shift from actor to audience, you might just find that zero state the greatest creator is talking about. Find your frequency, tune your radio, and enjoy the game. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you in the next dimension.